Hey everyone, it's Joy here with another Lawn Fawn video, and I have a super fun Halloween card for you guys today using the Build-A-Critter costumes, the Build-A-Jack-O-Lantern, and the Build-A-Bunny die set. Okay, so I'm starting with the Build-A-Jack-O-Lantern. I'm just going to show you that I've die cut this from white cardstock, and then I'm going to place the little jack-o'-lantern face right in the center. I'm going to tape this down, run this through my die cut machine so we have a jack-o'-lantern face. So we're going to have two pumpkins, but only one is going to have a face. And look at how traditional and cute that is. Okay, let's start. We have a lot of ink blending here. If you don't want to do ink blending, you could definitely die cut from colored cardstock, and that would make it go a lot faster. You could also die cut from colored cardstock and then do a little bit of ink blending on the edges. So for our jack-o'-lanterns, I am using carved pumpkin and then crackling campfire around the edges, just giving it a little shadow area. So we have two of these. We have a shorter squatty pumpkin, this taller pumpkin here. We have the lids to the pumpkins. I have the pumpkin candy container and a little small pumpkin from some other die sets. So we also are going to be using the full moon die set and the spooky forest backdrop die, along with the giant trick-or-treat die. So tons of die cutting. This is all the guts of the pumpkin that I am using scattered straw to ink blend with. This is the moon from the full moon die set. We're going to use scattered straw and then wild honey. I really wanted this yellowy orangey kind of moon, so we're going to get that ink blended. I'm going to go back in with that scattered straw just to blend everything out, add a little bit more of that wild honey around the edges. Then we have black soot for the witch's hat from the Build-A-Critter costumes. We have a cute bat from the full moon die set. We have the handle to the carving knife from the Build-A-Jack-O-Lantern. And I'm just kind of grouping together all of the obviously light colors for ink blending. It makes it so much easier when you're doing a lot of die cuts. Then this is the cape and the little part of the witch's hat from the Build-A-Critter costumes. So you can make a witch, a pirate, or a vampire. How cute is that? Then we have the broom from the Build-A-Critter costume. We have the broom handle. We have our little owl. This is from the spooky forest backdrop die. That's the only thing I used from that die set is the owl. Then the tops to our pumpkins from the Build-A-Jack-O-Lantern die set. And I'm using walnut stain here for our owl, and I used a little bit of antique linen as well. Then we have our knife, our carving knife, the belly to our bunny, some little ghosts. The ghosts I used, I think were from, there's some in the spooky backdrop. Then we have the Build-A-Bunny. I am using Lost Shadow and Hickory Smoke for the bunny. Then I'm using spun sugar for the inside of the ears and the feet. Now I have a full bunny, and then I have this part here, which is like for the sitting bunny, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. And then back in spring, I did a little bunny bum, and I'm going to do the same thing again for this card because I just think it's so cute, and I'll show you what that little bunny is going to be doing. We have the arms here. We have the cute feet. Again, that's all from the Build-A-Bunny. Then there is some candy and a star. That is from the Build-A-Critter costumes die. And there is a little circle that goes behind the bunny's head to fill in for the nose. I'm die cutting one of those for the nose, but I'm also die cutting another one for the bunny bum for the tail. I'm going to use spun sugar to ink blend the ears, the little what part's going to show through for the little pads of the bunny feet, and then two of those little candy pieces. And then the star and the other two candy pieces are going to be carved pumpkin. And then I'm adding a little bit of that spun sugar to the bunny's cheeks to give them little rosy cheeks, because how cute is that? I love that. Okay, let's put our images together and then we can build our card. I am using reverse tweezers and my liquid glue, and we're just going to start with our bunny that's going to be dressed up as a witch. This is our standing bunny. I'm going to glue the ears. Then you have this piece that I die cut from black licorice cardstock for the eyes. And then that little circle piece that we ink blended pink will tuck in for the nose. Now, before you put the head on the bunny, you want to put the witch's cape on. And so I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on the back and then slide that through. It die cuts this way, so you slide your bunny body up until it doesn't slide anymore. And then you have that cute little body. Now I'm going to glue the band on for the hat and then the little star. I wanted one of the ears of the bunny to show through the hat. So I'm going to tilt the hat just a little bit to the left because I just think that's really cute. And then I'm going to have the head tilted to the right a little bit just to give a little character to, or a little something to our little critters here. Now I'm going to add 1mm foam adhesive on I'm going to call the neck piece. So the head is up just a little bit and can slightly overlap the little witch's robe. How cute is that? Let's glue on the arms. There's 2 sets of arms. These are the ones that are kind of facing in the body because this witch is going to be holding her little pumpkin full of candy. So I'm only going to glue the back parts down, not the ends of the hands. Then we have our little jack-o'-lantern here that we ink blended. The back piece is die cut from the black licorice cardstock, and we're going to glue that together. And then this will have little pieces of candy, and it's going to hook like that. How cute is that? These little candies are darling. So I'm going to put 2 inside of our pumpkin and 2 we're going to use as part of our embellishment decorations. So I got those glued down. I ink blended the eyes. I didn't show this with carved pumpkin for the owl. And then I forgot I had to poke out the eye part. I was trying to glue it together. I'm like, no, that's wrong. So you poke out the eye so then you can see the orange behind it. So we have our cute little owl here that is going to be part of our Halloween scene. Again, that's from the Spooky Forest backdrop. That's the only die I used from that. We have our cute bat here. I'm going to use a white gel pen for the fangs. And then I'm going to use a black gel pen for the eyes because it'll just stand out a little bit different because it's kind of glossy. Then we have our knife from the Build a Jack-o'-lantern. And there's also a pumpkin, like the scoop when you're cleaning out all the pumpkin insides. We call them pumpkin guts at our house. But I'm not using that on here, and you'll see why in just a little bit. Here's the back piece of that jack-o'-lantern. I had ink blended it a little too much of a dark orange, so I just did a little bit of yellow off of one of my sponge daubers that was just sitting there. And I'm going to glue that to the background. So we have 1 jack-o'-lantern and 1 pumpkin. Let's glue the stems onto our pumpkin lids because how cute is that? Oh my gosh, I love it. Then we have a tiny little pumpkin that I'm using. Super cute. I think this was from the Build a Critter costumes. I think that was from that. And then our witch's broom. And then here's our little bunny. I did not have the little bunny tail die cut yet, but I'm going to glue that down right to the center. But let's glue the feet to the pink part, which will then look like the little pads. How cute are they? Oh my gosh, so darling. So remember, this is the sitting bunny, but I'm going to have it that he is kind of bent over in a way. So you're going to see the bottom of his feet like upside down. And I'm going to turn them where they're facing in just a little bit. But how cute is that? These little bunnies are so cute. I love them. Okay, let's do our background. Twisted citron, mowed lawn, and black soot is what I'm using, Distress Oxide inks, to create this background. I just thought traditional Halloween colors, so much fun. So that's what I'm gonna blend here for just a little spooky green background. Since everything else is like orange and purple, everything is gonna pop off of this background. So the bottom part I'm leaving blank because that's just gonna be black soot. I'm creating kind of a dark ground because this is a nighttime scene. So I'm gonna ink blend that and then go around the edges to darken up that green, and I'm just going to kind of repeat this until I get a nice smooth blend. This is also helpful if you're ink pads are juicy, then they're going to really blend really, really nicely. So as you can see, that's getting nice and smooth. Come back in with that black soot just a little bit more. Okay, then we have the moon. I am using liquid stardust because it's so shimmery and shiny. I'm splattering the background and a little bit on the moon. And I did use my heat tool to dry that, or you can set it aside to dry, but I needed to get to putting the card together, so I did use my heat tool for that. I'm going to adhere the moon on the top right, hanging off the edge, and we will cut off the excess. I have die cut the giant Trick or Treat from Black Licorice Cardstock twice. I'm going to glue that together. This is going to give it a little bit of dimension without having to add foam adhesive behind it. And this is going to be, of course, our giant sentiment, and I love this sentiment. I think it's so fun, and it was so perfect on this card. And then we can adhere this. I did want this to overlap the moon. I really wanted the moon to be in the background, and so overlapping something like a sentiment or your other images just really is a fun design technique. Look at how cute that is. And I'll trim the excess of that moon off, of course. Okay, let's put our pieces together. I adhered that little bunny to that jack-o'-lantern, or to the pumpkin actually. He is digging out, he is cleaning out his pumpkin. So look at all the little insides to the pumpkin, the little knife I tucked in, because in those little guts of the pumpkin has little die cut pieces, because there's also the seeds that you could put in there, and I didn't do that this time, but I stuck the knife in there. He is in that pumpkin cleaning it out. I just think it's so cute. I love him. I think he might be my favorite part to this card, even though I love every bit of this card. Then we have the lids to the pumpkins. I'm just deciding if I want that pumpkin top on top, which I do. So let me adhere the pumpkin guts down there, and I tilted that pumpkin on purpose because I just am picturing in my mind this little bunny is just going to town, getting it all clean. I added some black gel pen to the eyes of the ghost, and he's just coming out of that other jack-o'-lantern. I just thought he's just a fun little addition because there's lots of little things going on. This is pure Halloween. Halloween at its finest. Then I am adding 2mm foam adhesive behind the head of my bunny, and then 1mm behind the body, because the head, remember, was already popped up with 1mm. So we need to make everything even. Or no, excuse me, reverse that. 2mm at the bottom, 1mm behind the head. Then we have our cute little owl up there sitting on the sentiment, our fun bat. I'm going to tuck in the witch's broom because I couldn't forget about that. That's part of that little bunny's costume. Then I have that tiny pumpkin. I have the other two little candy bits. I did have one extra ghost, but I'm not going to use that. So let me tuck this pumpkin in here. I'll trim that off. And then our two pieces of candy, like it's fallen out of their little candy bucket. So cute. I love everything about this card, but that bunny cleaning out the pumpkin is just the best. I'm going to finish my critters off with just a little bit of white gel pen highlights onto some of the pumpkins, just a little bit, nothing crazy. And then we can take a look at this up close. We can see that shimmer and shine from the liquid stardust, and look at all of these cute die cuts. This is such a fun Halloween card, and I had such a good time making it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on this video. I hope that I inspired you with something. I hope that you enjoyed the video and the process of putting this card together, and I hope you guys have a really amazing day. Bye.